Hi, my name is Robert Chelle with Chelle Law, and my firm assists physicians with employment contract issues. When a physician is either switching a job or many times when someone is coming out of training, they may be offered an employment agreement that contains RVUs. And so an obvious question to most people who aren't used to being compensated in that way is, what is an RVU? And then how do I get paid for it? I'm going to break this down in the simplest way possible. The well actually crew can hold off as I simplify this and make it hopefully easily digestible for people who are maybe looking at a job where they may be paid, based on RVUs. Just as kind of like an initial matter, most of the time, if you're going to enter a job, there'll be some kind of guarantee period prior to, kind of a productivity-based agreement kicking in. So for instance, let's say a gastroenterologist is employed at the hospital. They'll usually have, an income guarantee for the first year or two. So basically a base salary that is not tied to productivity in any way. And then maybe after year two and then entering year three, it'll transition into some kind of productivity model. And in most cases, at least as far as being employed at the hospital, it will be RVU based. And so let's kind of talk about, what is an RVU and then how do you get paid for it? So an RVU stands for relative value unit. And the CMS, Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, kind of came up with a system, I believe it was in the early 90s, where essentially every CPT code is given a value or a number based upon how long it takes, how acute it was, how much time and skill is involved in it. And so all of the specialties with all the encounters and CPT codes have an RVU number attached to it. And there's three types of RVUs. You have the work RVU for the physician, you have the practice expense RVUs, and then the malpractice RVUs. The only RVUs that matter to the physician are the work RVUs. And so that just takes into account what the physician does. One of the benefits of RVUs versus net collections, which is another common way of being compensated for production, is that RVUs kind of take out any type of, collections problem. So even though a physician may do a service, provide a service to a patient, if they're being compensated via net collections, if the money isn't actually received by the practice or the hospital or whoever the employer is, generally the physician won't see it. So let's say write-offs, reductions by insurance companies, just straight defaults by the patient in paying, all of those will go towards the physician doing the work but not getting paid for it. So an RVU kind of takes that away. It's only based upon what the physician does. And so in this case, as I was saying before, each encounter is given a number, and then that number is then multiplied by what we'd call a conversion factor. And then that's how much the physician will get paid. So let's just say, let's just do primary care, for instance. So let's say the median RVUs generated in a year for primary care is, roughly between 5,000 to 6,000. So you take, if they were being compensated annually based on RVUs, you take 6,000 RVUs and you multiply that times the conversion factor, and then that's what they would make for the year. Obviously, there's multiple ways of paying them. No one's going to wait till the end of the year. So generally they would have a draw. So there'd be a number that they'd agree to where the physician would be paid that amount. And then either monthly or quarterly, there'd be some kind of reconciliation. And then if there's a leftover amount, meaning they generated more via RVUs than they were actually paid via the draw, then they would receive that as a bonus, at the end of the month or the quarter, or whatever the reconciliation period is. So there is no negotiation as far as what an encounter is worth as far as RVUs go. That is set by CMS, and it is what it is. There can be negotiation in the conversion factor. That changes based upon specialty. So one specialty maybe has a conversion factor of 35, which is kind of like the average. Whereas maybe, like a neurosurgeon might be $75 or $80. It just depends. And so if you're with a health network or a hospital, they usually have their own kind of internal benchmarks as far as what each specialty will receive for their compensation factor. Maybe if you were with a small physician-owned group that were using RVUs, you'd have some more leverage in negotiating what your compensation factor would be. So how to kind of use this information practically, I would just search around on the internet for kind of what an annual RVU amount would be in your specialty. And then also look for the compensation factor as well. Another way of compensating physicians is they'll have like tiers. So for instance, if their expectation is 5,000 RVUs in a year, then maybe between like 5,000 and 6,000, they'll be paid this comp factor. 6 to 7, it would raise up to maybe $5 more, and then 7 to 8, another $5. That's not uncommon either. So anyway, that is what a RVU is for a physician. Once again, you only care about the work RVU. There's multiple ways of compensating from it, but hopefully that's kind of like a bare bones analysis to at least give you some kind of knowledge about it. If you have any questions or concerns, I'm happy to answer any of those. You can either reach us, call us through the number listed below, or you can reach us through our website, chellelaw.com, CHELLE law.com. And appreciate you watching the video, and take care.